Whatever time it is where you are right now, whether you're just starting your day with a cup of coffee or settling in for the night, just take a moment. Feel the comfort around you, the warmth of your room, the safety of your home. Now, I want you to imagine all of that is gone. Imagine your world has shrunk to just two things: the biting wind on your face and the gnawing ache in your stomach. That was the entire world for 10-year-old twins Leo and Maya. For them, the warmth of the Lamplight Diner was a paradise they could see but not touch. Being kicked out was humiliating, but what came next was terrifying. What would you do if you saw a tall, shadowy figure start to follow you down a dark, rain-slicked street? You'd run, and that's exactly what they did, expecting the absolute worst. They had no way of knowing that this man wasn't a threat. He was their only hope, and the keeper of a secret about their parents that was about to shatter everything they thought they knew about their own lives. The rain fell in relentless sheets, a cold November shroud over Chicago's shadowed streets. Neon lights flickered through the downpour, casting fractured reflections on the cracked sidewalk outside the Lamplight Diner. Beneath the diner's awning, two small figures huddled, their thin frames trembling under threadbare jackets. Leo and Maya Evans, 6-year-old twins, stood pressed together, their breath visible in the biting air. Leo, the elder by mere minutes, clutched a worn wooden box to his chest, its edges smoothed by time and touch. The last gift from their mother, Catherine, who had slipped away to leukemia 4 months prior. His brown eyes, shadowed with worry, scanned the alley behind them, ever watchful for the threat they'd fled. Marcus Thorne, their guardian, whose false smiles hit a heart as cold as the rain. Maya, her damp curls plastered to her pale cheeks, tugged at Leo's sleeve. "We have to try, Leo," she whispered, her voice small but fierce, carrying the stubborn courage that defined her. "I'm so hungry it hurts." Her sharp gaze fixed on the diner's fogged windows, where warm light spilled out, promising shelter and food. Inside, silhouettes of families laughed over steaming plates, a world apart from the twins' reality. Leo hesitated, his fingers tracing the box's carved lid, a habit that calmed his racing thoughts. He wanted to protect Maya, to keep her safe from Marcus's rage, but the growl of her stomach echoed his own. "Okay," he said finally, his voice barely audible over the rain's drumbeat. "But stay close." The diner's bell jingled as they pushed through the heavy glass door, the warmth inside wrapping around them like a forgotten embrace. The air was thick with the scent of fried onions, coffee, and fresh bread, making their mouths water. Customers glanced up, some with pity, others with unease, at the sight of the bedraggled twins. Leo's sneakers squelched on the checkered floor as he led Maya to a booth near the door, his small hand gripping hers tightly. He clutched the wooden box under one arm, its weight a reminder of their mother's whispered words before she died. "Keep this safe. It's our secret." Maya slid into the booth, her eyes darting around, taking in every detail. The chipped mugs, the faded menus, the waitress wiping down a counter with mechanical precision. Grace, the diner's owner, emerged from behind the counter, her face etched with the weariness of a woman who'd seen too many long nights. Her graying hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her apron bore stains of countless shifts. She approached the twins, her expression a mix of suspicion and reluctant concern. "You kids got money?" she asked, her voice gruff but not unkind. "This ain't a shelter. You're scaring my customers." Leo's heart sank, his fingers tightening on the box. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Maya, undaunted, leaned forward. "Please, ma'am," she said, her voice steady despite her chattering teeth. "We haven't eaten all day, just something small?" Grace's eyes softened for a moment, but she shook her head. "Rules are rules. No money, no food. You gotta go." Leo felt a lump rise in his throat, his mind racing to sketch the diner's sign in his head. A glowing lamp, its light a beacon he could hold on to. Maya's hand squeezed his, her courage urging him to stay strong. "Come on," she whispered, pulling him toward the door. The bell jingled again as they stepped back into the rain, the cold slicing through their thin clothes. Leo glanced back, catching Grace's conflicted gaze through the window before she turned away. The twins trudged into the alley, the wooden box heavy in Leo's arms, its secrets their only anchor. Maya's shoulders slumped, but her eyes burned with defiance. "We'll find another way," she said, though her voice wavered. In the diner's dimmest corner, a man sat alone, his presence nearly invisible among the chatter of families. Arthur Vance, his dark coat draped over the booth, watched the scene unfold with an intensity that belied his unassuming appearance. At 42, his sharp features were softened by a worn blazer and jeans, his wealth hidden beneath a life of self-imposed exile. The twins' faces, Leo's quiet fear, Maya's bold resolve, stirred something deep within him, a memory of a garage filled with dreams and a friend lost to tragedy. He'd come to the Lamplight Diner tonight, as he often did, to escape the weight of his past, but the sight of the twins felt like fate pulling him back. His fingers tightened around his coffee mug as Grace sent them away, their small figures disappearing into the storm. Arthur's mind raced, fragments of a promise made years ago surfacing like ghosts. David's children. The names Leo and Maya, whispered in a hospital room by their mother, Catherine, before she slipped away, echoed in his thoughts. He'd failed David once, but he wouldn't fail his children. Setting a few bills on the table, Arthur rose, his movements deliberate, and stepped into the rain. The alley was dark, the twin silhouettes barely visible against the wet brick walls. Leo held Maya close, his sketches forgotten as he scanned for danger. Maya's eyes caught a shadow moving toward them, and she tensed, ready to run. "Don't be afraid," Arthur called, his voice low and steady, carrying a sadness that made Maya pause. He stopped a few feet away, hands visible to ease their fear. "Leo, Maya, are you David and Catherine's children?" The twins froze, rain dripping from their hoods. Leo stepped in front of Maya, his small frame rigid, the wooden box clutched like a shield. "How do you know our names?" he asked, his voice trembling but firm. Maya peered around him, her sharp gaze locking onto Arthur's. His eyes held no threat, only a deep, unspoken grief that felt strangely familiar. "I knew your father," Arthur said, rain streaking down his face. "My name is Arthur Vance. I made a promise to him, and to your mother. I can help you if you'll let me." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning the twins couldn't yet grasp. Leo's fingers traced the box's lid, his mind sketching Arthur's face, searching for truth. Maya, her intuition sharper than her years, saw the pain in Arthur's expression, a pain that mirrored their own. The rain pounded harder, and the alley offered no shelter, only the threat of Marcus's pursuit. With a glance at Leo, Maya nodded slightly, her courage making the choice for them both. "Okay," she said softly, stepping forward, "but we're not leaving this box." Arthur's lips curved into a faint, sad smile, as if her words confirmed something he'd long suspected. He gestured toward his car, parked just beyond the alley's mouth, its headlights cutting through the storm. As the twins followed, Leo's sketches faded into the reality of this stranger's offer, and Maya's heart pounded with a mix of fear and hope. The diner's neon sign flickered behind them, its glow a distant memory as they stepped into the unknown, bound by a name and a promise that would change their lives forever. The rain hammered Chicago's alley, a relentless curtain that blurred the world beyond the flickering streetlights. Leo and Maya Evans stood frozen, their small figures dwarfed by the towering brick walls. Leo's arms tightened around the wooden box, its carved lid slick with rain, as he shielded Maya from the stranger's gaze. Arthur Vance's words, "Leo, Maya, are you David and Catherine's children?" hung heavy in the air, a lifeline and a mystery wrapped in one. Maya's sharp eyes studied Arthur, his dark coat drenched, his face etched with a sorrow that felt like an echo of their own. The neon glow of the Lamplight Diner faded behind them, its warmth a cruel memory as the cold seeped deeper into their bones. "Who are you?" Leo demanded, his voice cracking but firm, his 6-year-old frame rigid with defiance. He stepped closer to Maya, his mind sketching Arthur's features, sharp cheekbones, tired eyes to anchor his fear. Maya, undaunted, peeked around him, her curls dripping as she searched Arthur's expression for truth. "How do you know our mom and dad?" she asked, her tone bold despite the tremble in her hands. Arthur raised his palms, a gesture of peace, his breath visible in the chill. "I'm Arthur Vance," he said, his voice low, carrying the weight of years. "I was your father's friend long ago. I made a promise to him to keep you safe. Leo's fingers traced the box's edges, a reflex to steady his racing thoughts. Their mother, Catherine, had whispered of secrets in this box, her final words a plea to protect it from Marcus Thorne, their guardian, whose false kindness hid a vicious greed. The memory of Marcus's rage, his hands clawing for the box, his shouts echoing in their cramped apartment, made Leo shudder. Maya, sensing his fear, squeezed his arm. "Why should we trust you?" she challenged, her voice cutting through the rain's drumbeat. Arthur's eyes softened, a flicker of pain crossing his face. "Because I know what it's like to be alone," he said, "to have nothing but a promise to hold on to. I failed your father once. I won't fail you." The alley offered no refuge, only the threat of Marcus's pursuit. Maya's sharp intuition caught the sincerity in Arthur's gaze, a depth that reminded her of her mother's quiet strength. She glanced at Leo, his brown eyes wide with doubt, and nodded slightly, her courage anchoring them both. "We don't have anywhere else to go," she whispered to him. Leo's heart pounded, but the weight of the box and the memory of their mother's trust pushed him forward. "Okay," he said, his voice barely audible, "but we're keeping this." He lifted the box slightly, its wood gleaming in the dim light. Arthur nodded, a faint, sad smile breaking through. "I wouldn't ask you to leave it," he said, gesturing toward a sleek black car parked at the alley's mouth. The twins followed, their steps tentative, the rain soaking their worn sneakers. Arthur held the car door open, the interior warm and smelling faintly of leather and coffee. Maya slid in first, her eyes scanning the dashboard, memorizing details as if to map an escape. Leo clutched the box tighter, settling beside her, his mind sketching the car's sleek lines to calm his nerves. As Arthur drove through Chicago's glistening streets, the city's lights blurred into streaks of gold and red, a world apart from the twins' reality. Maya watched him through the rearview mirror, noting the way his hands gripped the wheel, his silence heavy with unspoken stories. The car wound toward Lake Michigan, where Arthur's mansion loomed, its stone facade softened by ivy and moonlight. The twins stepped out, their breath catching at the sight of towering windows and a garden swallowed by shadows. Inside, the foyer's chandelier cast a golden glow, its crystals sparkling like stars. Maria, Arthur's housekeeper, greeted them with a warm smile, her graying hair tucked into a neat bun. "You poor things," she said, wrapping them in thick blankets. "Let's get you warm." She led them to a sitting room where a fire crackled, its heat thawing their frozen fingers. Maya sipped hot cocoa, her sharp eyes darting between Arthur and the box in Leo's lap. Leo, sketching the fire's glow in his mind, felt a flicker of safety but kept his guard up. Arthur sat across from them, his coat draped over a chair, his expression unreadable. "You're safe here," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "No one will find you. Not Marcus, not anyone." Maya tilted her head, her intuition probing. "You said you knew our dad," she said. "What kind of friend were you?" Arthur's gaze drifted to the fire, memories flickering in his eyes. "We built something together," he said. "Dreams, plans, things that changed the world. But I lost him, and I've been lost ever since." His words carried a weight the twins couldn't fully grasp, but Maya felt a connection, a thread tying this stranger to their parents. Leo's fingers traced the box's carvings, his sketches fading into questions. "What's in the box?" Arthur asked, his tone careful, as if he already knew its importance. Leo stiffened, pulling it closer. "It's ours," he said, his voice sharp. "Mom said to keep it safe." Arthur nodded, respecting their boundary. "And you will," he said, "but you don't have to do it alone. I promised your father I'd protect you, and I mean to keep that promise." Maya studied him, her mind racing. The box held secrets, Catherine's coded diary, a brass key, faded photos, but they were too young to understand them. Yet Arthur's words felt like a key of their own, unlocking a path forward. Maria returned with dry clothes, her maternal presence easing the twins' tension. "There's a room for you upstairs," she said, her voice soft. "Big enough for both of you and that box." As they followed her, Leo glanced back at Arthur, his mind sketching the man's sad smile, a portrait of someone carrying their own ghosts. Maya, clutching Leo's hand, felt a spark of hope. The mansion's warmth enveloped them, a stark contrast to the alley's cold, but the weight of their mother's secrets lingered. Arthur watched them go, his heart heavy with the promise he'd made to David years ago in a cramped garage, a promise to protect his children no matter the cost. As the twins settled into a plush room, the box between them on the bed, Maya whispered, "He's not like Marcus." Leo nodded, his fingers tracing the box's lid. "But we don't know him yet," he said, his voice quiet but firm. Outside, the rain slowed to a drizzle, and Arthur stood in his study, staring at a faded photo of himself and David, their faces young and full of dreams. The twins' arrival wasn't a chance. It was fate, pulling him back to a past he'd tried to bury. Tomorrow he'd begin unraveling the secrets of the box, but tonight he'd given two frightened children a safe place to rest, a first step toward keeping a promise that would change them all. The glow of the chandelier faded as Leo and Maya Evans climbed the grand staircase of Arthur Vance's lakeside mansion, their small hands entwined, the wooden box a steadfast weight in Leo's arms. The warmth of the sitting room, where Maria's hot cocoa had thawed their chilled fingers, lingered in their minds, but the vastness of this new world pressed against their hearts. The rain had slowed to a whisper outside, its patter a faint echo of the Chicago alley where Arthur had found them just hours ago. Maya, her sharp eyes scanning the hallway's ornate walls, felt the box's secrets tugging at her, a promise from their mother, Catherine, to uncover something greater. Leo, his mind sketching the staircase's carved banister, clung to the box as a tether to their past, wary of this stranger who knew their parents' names. Maria led them to a spacious room, its plush bed draped in soft blues, a stark contrast to the damp alley they'd fled. "This is yours for as long as you need," she said, her voice a soothing balm, her graying bun catching the lamplight. She set clean pajamas on the bed, their folds crisp and unfamiliar. "Sleep tight, dears." As the door clicked shut, Maya climbed onto the bed, pulling Leo with her. The wooden box sat between them, its carved lid gleaming under the soft glow of a bedside lamp. "He's not like Marcus," Maya whispered, her voice firm but quiet, her intuition wrestling with the uncertainty of their new refuge. Leo nodded, his fingers tracing the box's edges, sketching its patterns in his mind to quell his fear. "But we don't know him yet," he murmured, his 6-year-old voice heavy with the weight of their mother's final warning. "Keep this safe." In the stillness, Maya's courage took hold. "Let's look inside," she said, her small hands reaching for the box. Leo hesitated, his protective instincts flaring, but her determined gaze softened his resolve. Together they lifted the lid, revealing Catherine's coded diary, its pages filled with cryptic sketches of gears and stars, a handful of faded photos, and a brass key, its intricate design glinting like a secret waiting to be unlocked. The photos showed their parents, David's warm smile, Catherine's gentle eyes, moments from a life the twins barely remembered. Maya's fingers lingered on a picture of their mother laughing, her curls like Maya's own. Leo, sketching the key's curves in his mind, felt a pang of loss. "What does it mean?" he whispered. Maya shook her head, her sharp mind racing. "Mom said it's important. We'll figure it out." Downstairs, Arthur stood in his study, the fire's glow casting shadows across a faded photo of himself and David Evans, their young faces alight with ambition in a cluttered garage. The twins' arrival had stirred memories he'd buried, dreams built on late nights and shared hopes, shattered by David's death. The wooden box, clutched so fiercely by Leo, felt like a message from his old friend, a call to honor a promise made years ago. He dialed a number, his voice steady but urgent. "Eleanor, it's Arthur. I need you to dig into Marcus Thorne, everything about his guardianship of David's children. Something's not right." Eleanor Hayes, his lawyer, her voice crisp even at this late hour, replied, "I'm on it. Give me a day." Arthur hung up, his gaze drifting to the photo, his heart heavy with guilt and resolve. The twins were no accident. They were David's legacy, and he would protect them. Morning light filtered through the mansion's tall windows, painting the twins' room in soft golds. Maya woke first, her eyes tracing the room's high ceiling, her mind buzzing with the diary's symbols. Leo stirred, the box still cradled in his arms. his dreams filled with sketches of stars and keys. Maria's knock broke the silence, her warm smile coaxing them downstairs to a breakfast of pancakes and fresh juice. The dining room, vast and polished, felt like a world apart from their cramped apartment with Marcus. Yet the box, now tucked under Leo's chair, grounded them. Arthur joined them, his worn blazer a quiet contrast to the room's grandeur. "Sleep well?" he asked, his tone gentle but probing, as if testing their trust. Maya nodded, her sharp gaze studying him, while Leo's fingers twitched, itching to sketch the table's intricate wood grain. Eleanor arrived mid-morning, her briefcase snapping open with a purpose that matched her sharp eyes. "Thorne's guardianship papers are sloppy," she said, spreading documents across Arthur's study. "Forged signatures, missing records. Something's off." Arthur's jaw tightened, his mind flashing to Marcus's false tears at David's funeral, a performance that had fooled everyone but him. "Keep digging," he said. "The twins are scared of him. There's more to this." Eleanor nodded, her efficiency a quiet promise. As she left, Arthur glanced at the twins playing in the garden. Leo sketching a flower, Maya whispering something that made him smile. Their resilience, so like David's, stirred his determination to uncover the truth. Upstairs, alone again, Maya flipped through the diary, her small fingers tracing its strange symbols. "It's like a puzzle," she said, her voice alive with possibility. Leo, sketching the key's design on a scrap of paper Maria had given him, frowned. "But what's it for?" he asked, his quiet nature craving answers. The photos tucked back in the box showed their parents in moments of joy. David tinkering with a gadget, Catherine reading to them as toddlers. The brass key, heavy in Maya's hand, felt like a bridge to those memories, but its purpose remained elusive. "Mom trusted us with this," Maya said, her courage unwavering. "We'll find out what it opens." Arthur, passing their open door, caught their whispered conversation. The box's significance gnawed at him, its contents a shadow of David's genius. He remembered late nights in their garage, David sketching designs that could change the world, his laughter filling the air. The twins' voices, so young yet so determined, echoed that spirit. He stepped back, giving them space, but his resolve hardened. The box held more than memories. It held answers, and he would help the twins find them. As dust settled over the mansion, its windows glowing against the lake's dark expanse, Leo and Maya sat on their bed, the box between them. Maya's sharp mind pieced together fragments of their mother's words, while Leo's sketches captured the key's intricate lines, a silent vow to protect their legacy. Downstairs, Arthur studied David's photo, the weight of his promise pressing heavier. The twins' arrival had cracked open his guarded heart, and the secrets in their box would lead them all toward a truth that could either save them or unravel everything. Tomorrow they would begin to decode the diary, but tonight the mansion held them close, a fragile sanctuary against the storm still chasing them. Dusk draped Arthur Vance's lakeside mansion in a veil of indigo, the lake's dark surface mirroring the first stars. Inside, Leo and Maya Evans sat cross-legged on their plush bed. The wooden box opened between them, its contents, Catherine's coded diary, faded photos, and the intricate brass key, spilling secrets they couldn't yet unravel. The warmth of the room, with its soft lamplight, felt like a fragile shield against the storm they'd fled. But the weight of their mother's trust pressed heavily. Leo's pencil scratched across a scrap of paper, sketching the key's swirling design, his 6-year-old mind seeking order in its curves. Maya, her sharp eyes tracing the diary's cryptic gears and stars, whispered, "It's a puzzle, Leo. Mom believed we could solve it." Their whispered resolve, born in the quiet of their new sanctuary, carried the echo of the previous night's promise to uncover the truth. Downstairs, Arthur stood in his study, the fire casting long shadows across the photo of him and David Evans, their youthful grins frozen in a garage filled with dreams. Eleanor Hayes's words from earlier that day, "Thorne's guardianship papers are sloppy," rang in his ears, fueling his suspicion. Marcus Thorne, the twins' guardian, was no grieving uncle. His polished facade hid a greed Arthur had glimpsed years ago. The twins' fear of him, their fierce grip on the box, confirmed it. Arthur's fingers tightened around his coffee mug, the weight of his promise to David, to protect his children, anchoring his resolve. He glanced out the window where Leo's sketch of a garden flower fluttered on the table, a reminder of the twins' resilience. They were David's legacy, and Marcus would not touch them. Across Chicago, in a dimly lit bar, Marcus Thorne leaned across a scarred table, his polished suit clashing with the room's grime. His blue eyes, cold and calculating, met those of a shadowy investor, a man with a predatory smile. "The twins have something I need," Marcus said, his voice low, masking his fury at their escape. "A key to a patent. David's work. It's worth millions." The investor's brow arched, intrigued. "And the billionaire?" he asked, swirling his drink. Marcus's lips curled into a sneer. "Vance is a recluse, weak. I'll paint him as a kidnapper. The media's already eating it up." He'd launched a campaign that morning, tearfully pleading on local news for the return of his beloved wards, accusing Arthur of stealing them. The public's outrage was mounting, a noose tightening around Arthur's quiet life. Back at the mansion, Maya's sharp ears caught the hum of a television in the kitchen, where Maria was preparing dinner. Slipping downstairs, she peeked around the corner, her heart sinking as Marcus's face filled the screen, his voice dripping with false concern. "Leo and Maya are vulnerable," he said, dabbing his eyes. "This man, Arthur Vance, took them. I just want them safe." Maya's fists clenched, her courage flaring. She remembered Marcus's hands clawing for the box, his shouts echoing in their old apartment. She darted back to Leo, her words tumbling out. "He's lying to everyone, Leo. He wants the box." Leo's pencil paused, his sketch of the key half finished. "We can't let him get it," he said, his quiet voice fierce, his mind sketching Marcus's cruel smile as a warning. Arthur, alerted by Maria, joined the twins in their room, his expression grim. "I saw the news," he said, kneeling to their level. "Marcus is playing a dangerous game, but you're safe here." Maya's sharp gaze met his. "He's after what's in the box," she said, her voice steady despite her age. Arthur nodded, his mind racing. The box's contents, David's designs, Catherine's diary, held something Marcus coveted, something tied to the patent he'd stolen years ago. "We'll find out what it is," Arthur promised, his voice firm. "But we need to be smart. Eleanor's digging into Marcus's lies. We'll stop him together." Leo's fingers tightened on his sketch, his trust in Arthur growing, while Maya's resolve hardened, her intuition sensing a battle looming. Eleanor's call came late, her voice sharp through the phone. "Thorne's guardianship was rushed through a shady lawyer," she reported. "He's got debts, big ones. Whatever's in that box, he's desperate for it." Arthur's jaw tightened, memories of David's stolen research flooding back. Marcus had betrayed them once, orchestrating David's death to claim his work. Now he hunted the twins for the same greed. Arthur glanced at the twins, asleep now, the box tucked between them. Leo's sketches lay scattered, the key's design vivid on the page, while Maya's hand rested on the diary, her dreams filled with its puzzles. Arthur's heart clenched. He would not let David down again. Outside, the lake's waves lapped against the shore, a restless rhythm matching Arthur's thoughts. He stepped into the garden, where Leo's flower sketch had blown onto the grass, its delicate lines a testament to the boy's quiet strength. Maya's courage, her sharp mind piecing together their mother's clues, mirrored Catherine's spirit. Arthur knew the box held more than memories. It held the key to David's legacy, a biotech patent that could change lives. Marcus's media storm was a gambit, a hunter's move to corner them, but Arthur was no prey. He returned to his study, dialing Eleanor. "Set a trap," he said. "We'll use Marcus's lies against him." As he hung up, the twins' faces filled his mind, their trust a fragile gift he would protect at all costs. Morning broke with a pale sun, the mansion's warmth a stark contrast to the city's brewing storm. Leo and Maya woke to find Arthur at the breakfast table, his worn blazer a quiet reassurance. "We're going to figure out that box," he said, his smile steady. Maya nodded, her sharp eyes bright with purpose, while Leo's fingers twitched, itching to sketch the next clue. The diary's cryptic pages, the brass key's mystery, loomed larger now, tying them to a past Marcus sought to steal. As they ate, Eleanor's car pulled into the drive, her briefcase heavy with evidence. The hunters' game was escalating, but the twins, with Arthur's quiet strength beside them, were ready to fight for their parents' truth. The pale Chicago sun barely pierced the morning mist as Arthur Vance's car hummed along the city's outskirts, carrying Leo and Maya Evans toward a past they could scarcely remember. Inside, the twins sat close, the wooden box resting on Leo's lap, its carved lid a silent promise from their mother, Catherine. The previous night's revelations, Marcus Thorne's media lies, his greed for a biotech patent hidden in the box's secrets, had tightened the knot of fear and resolve in their young hearts. Maya, her sharp eyes tracing the passing streets, clutched the brass key from the box, its intricate design a puzzle she burned to solve. Leo, his pencil, sketching the key's curves on a scrap of paper, felt the weight of their mother's trust, his 6-year-old mind anchoring itself in the familiar lines. Arthur, gripping the wheel, glanced at them through the rearview mirror, his worn blazer a quiet contrast to the storm brewing around them. Eleanor's evidence of Marcus's fraud had lit a fire in him, and the diary's cryptic symbols, gears and stars, pointed to a place only the twins could lead him to, their old home on Maple Street. The mansion's warmth, where they'd pored over Catherine's diary under lamplight, felt distant now. Arthur had spent the morning studying its pages with Maya, her sharp mind catching patterns he recognized as David's coded style. A sketch of a star, circled in faded ink, was paired with the word home. Maya's memory sparked, a star carved into the floorboards of their old living room, where she and Leo used to play. "It's there," she'd said, her voice fierce with certainty. Leo, sketching the star's shape, nodded, his quiet strength aligning with her courage. Now as the car wound through suburban streets, the twins' anticipation grew, tempered by the fear of Marcus's pursuit. Arthur's voice broke the silence. "We're close," he said, his tone steady but heavy with the weight of his promise to David. "Whatever's there, we'll find it together." Maple Street emerged through the mist, its clapboard houses sagging under years of neglect. The twins' old home, number 237, stood abandoned, its paint peeling like old skin, its windows dark and curtainless. Weeds choked the yard, and unopened mail spilled from the mailbox, a testament to the life left behind. Leo's heart clenched as he stepped out, the box heavy in his arms, his mind sketching the house's faded porch, where Catherine once read them stories. Maya, clutching the key, scanned the street, her sharp eyes searching for any sign of Marcus. Arthur, his gaze softening, placed a hand on Leo's shoulder. "You okay?" he asked. Leo nodded, his pencil twitching, while Maya's voice cut through. "It's under the floor," she said, leading them to the porch, her courage a beacon in the gray morning. The front door creaked open, revealing a musty interior frozen in time. Dust motes danced in the slanted light, and the air smelled of mildew and memories. The living room, once filled with laughter, was bare, its furniture gone, likely sold by Marcus. Maya knelt by the fireplace, her fingers tracing the floorboards until she found it. A star, crudely carved, barely visible under years of grime. "Here," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Leo knelt beside her, his sketch of the star now a map to this moment. Arthur, his heart pounding, handed Maya the brass key, its weight a bridge to David's legacy. She fitted it into a hidden slot beneath the board, her small hand steady despite the stakes. With a soft click, the board lifted, revealing a metal box, its surface etched with the same star. Leo's breath caught as Maya opened the box, revealing a second diary. David's, its pages dense with technical drawings, and a letter addressed to Arthur in David's familiar scrawl. Arthur's hands trembled as he took the letter, his eyes scanning the words. "If you're reading this, you found my children. Protect them, Arthur. The patent is theirs." The diary detailed a biotech innovation, a revolutionary design Marcus had stolen, its final piece locked away here. Leo, sketching the box's star, felt a surge of pride for his father, while Maya's sharp mind pieced together the letter's weight. "This is what Marcus wants," she whispered, her voice fierce. Arthur nodded, his guilt over David's death mingling with resolve. "He won't get it," he said, his voice firm. "This belongs to you." The house creaked, a sound that made Maya's eyes dart to the window. The street was empty, But Marcus's shadow loomed in her mind, his media lies tightening the noose. Arthur tucked the diary and letter into his coat, his mind racing. The patent was more than wealth. It was David's dream, a chance to change lives, and Marcus's greed had already cost too much. "We need to get back," he said, guiding the twins to the door. Leo clutched the wooden box, his sketches a silent vow to protect their father's legacy, while Maya gripped the brass key, her courage unyielding. The house, a husk of their past, stood silent as they left, its secrets now in their hands. As the car pulled away, the mist thickened, shrouding Maple Street in a ghostly haze. Leo's pencil scratched across his paper, capturing the star's outline, a symbol of their parents' love. Maya, staring out the window, felt the diary's weight, its pages a puzzle she and Leo would solve. Arthur, driving back to the mansion, glanced at the twins, their small faces set with determination. The letter's words burned in his mind. David's trust, his plea to protect Leo and Maya. Marcus's gambit was escalating, but Arthur was ready to counter it. The mansion awaited, a sanctuary where they would decode David's diary and prepare for the fight ahead, their bond growing stronger with every step toward the truth. The Chicago mist clung to Arthur Vance's car as it pulled into the mansion's drive, the headlights cutting through the gray dusk. Inside, Leo and Maya Evans sat in silence, the weight of their discovery on Maple Street settling like dust in their young hearts. The metal box from their old home rested on Leo's lap, its contents, David's diary and a letter addressed to Arthur, burning with secrets. Leo's fingers traced the star etched on the box, his 6-year-old mind sketching its lines to anchor the flood of emotions. Maya, clutching the brass key, stared out at the mansion's looming silhouette, her sharp intuition piecing together the letter's plea. Protect them, Arthur. The memory of their abandoned home, its creaking floorboards and faded star, lingered like a ghost, tying them to a father they barely knew. Arthur, his hands steady on the wheel, felt the letter's weight in his coat pocket, its words a bridge to a past he'd tried to bury. Inside the mansion, the foyer's chandelier cast a warm glow, a stark contrast to the cold reality of Marcus Thorne's pursuit. Maria greeted them with a worried smile, her maternal instincts sensing the tension. "You're back safe," she said, ushering the twins to the study, where a fire crackled, its light dancing across the walls. Leo set the metal box beside the wooden one, his sketches of the star now a map to this moment. Maya, her eyes bright with purpose, opened David's diary, its pages dense with technical drawings and coded notes. Arthur joined them, his worn blazer catching the firelight as he unfolded the letter. "Let's read it together," he said, his voice low but firm, his guilt over David's death mingling with a fierce resolve to honor his friend's trust. The letter's words, scrawled in David's familiar hand, cut through the quiet. "Arthur, if you're reading this, you found my children. We built something extraordinary in that garage. But Marcus betrayed us. He stole my work, caused the accident that took me. The patent is theirs, Leo and Maya's. Protect them. Keep it safe." Arthur's voice trembled as he read, his eyes glistening with memories of late nights with David, their laughter echoing over circuit boards and blueprints. Leo, sketching the diary's cover, felt a surge of pride for a father he'd only known through stories. Maya, her sharp mind racing, gripped the key tighter. "What's the patent?" she asked, her voice small but fierce. Arthur met her gaze, his heart clenching at her resemblance to Catherine. "It's your father's dream," he said, "a biotech invention that could save lives. Marcus wants it for money, but it belongs to you." The study's warmth enveloped them, but the truth was cold. Arthur began to tell the story, his voice heavy with regret. "Your father and I were best friends," he said, leaning back, the fire casting shadows across his face. "We started in a garage, just two kids with big ideas. David was the genius. His designs could change the world. I handled the business, made sure we could grow." He paused, his mind drifting to that cramped space, filled with tools and hope. "We hired Marcus to manage things, but he got jealous. He sabotaged David's work, staged a car accident to kill him, and stole his research. I blame myself. I sold everything and hid from the world." His voice broke, and Leo's pencil paused, his sketch of the garage half-formed, capturing his father's dream. Maya's eyes widened, her intuition weaving the pieces together. "That's why you helped us," she said, her voice soft but certain. "You promised Dad." Arthur nodded, his guilt laid bare. "I failed him once, but not you. This patent, it's not just money. It's medicine, hope, a legacy for you both." Leo looked up, his quiet strength shining through. "We won't let Marcus take it," he said, his voice firm despite his age. He clutched the wooden box, its carved lid a link to their mother's trust. Maya nodded, her courage a mirror to Catherine's spirit. "We'll keep it safe," she said, her small hand resting on David's diary, its pages a map to their future. Outside, the lake's waves lapped against the shore, a restless rhythm matching Arthur's thoughts. Marcus's media campaign, branding him a kidnapper, was tightening its grip, but the letter and diary were weapons. He glanced at the twins, their faces set with determination, and felt David's presence in their resilience. "We need to be ready," he said. "Marcus won't stop, but we have proof now. Your father's words, his work, we'll use it to stop him." Leo's pencil scratched again, sketching David's imagined face, a portrait of a father he longed to know. Maya's sharp eyes studied Arthur, her trust deepening. "You're like family now," she said, her words piercing the quiet. Maria appeared with mugs of warm milk, her maternal warmth easing the study's tension. "You're safe here," she said, her smile steady. As she left, Arthur tucked the letter into the diary, his resolve hardening. The twins' bond, their fierce protection of the boxes, echoed David and Catherine's love. He wouldn't let Marcus destroy that. Upstairs, Leo and Maya settled into their room, the boxes beside them, their dreams filled with gears and stars. Leo's sketches, scattered across the bed, captured the diary's designs, while Maya's mind raced, piecing together their parents' legacy. Arthur, in his study, stared at David's photo, the garage's memory a call to action. The fight was coming, and they would face it together. As moonlight bathed the mansion, the twins slept, their small forms curled close, the boxes a silent guardian. Arthur stood by their door, his heart swelling with purpose. The letter had cracked open his past, revealing not just Marcus's betrayal, but David's trust, a trust he would honor. Tomorrow they would plan their stand, using David's diary to expose Marcus and secure the twins' future. The garage's promise, forged in friendship and dreams, lived on in Leo's sketches and Maya's courage, a legacy that would light their path through the gathering storm. Moonlight spilled through the mansion's tall windows, casting silver patterns across the study where Arthur Vance sat, David Evans' diary open before him. The letter's words, "Protect them, Arthur," burned in his mind, a vow forged in a garage long ago. Leo and Maya Evans, asleep upstairs, clutched their mother's wooden box and the metal one from Maple Street, their dreams woven with stars and keys. The previous night's revelations, Marcus Thorne's betrayal, the stolen biotech patent, David's death, had solidified Arthur's resolve. The twins' resilience, Leo's quiet sketches, and Maya's sharp courage echoed their parents' spirit, pulling Arthur from his years of isolation. Marcus's media campaign, painting him as a kidnapper, loomed like a storm, but the diary and letter were their shield. As dawn approached, Arthur knew the fight was coming, and the Lamplight Diner, where this journey began, would be their battleground. Morning light warmed the mansion as Arthur gathered Leo and Maya in the study, their small faces set with determination. Eleanor Hayes, her briefcase brimming with evidence, outlined their plan. "Marcus thinks he can intimidate you," she said, her sharp eyes meeting Arthur's. "We'll lure him to the diner, where we control the narrative." Maya, clutching the brass key, nodded fiercely. "He won't get Dad's work," she said, her 7-year-old voice unwavering. Leo, sketching the diary's star on a scrap of paper, added, "We'll show everyone he's a liar." Arthur's heart swelled. Their trust was a lifeline. He glanced at David's photo on the desk, its faded edges a reminder of the promise he'd keep today. The plan hinged on an unexpected ally, Grace, the diner's owner, whose gruff exterior hid a deeper connection. Eleanor's investigation had uncovered a bombshell. Grace was the sister of the Evans family's nanny, entrusted by Catherine with documents exposing Marcus's fraud. Arthur had called Grace that morning, her voice hesitant but firm. Catherine begged me to keep them safe, she'd said. I stayed quiet because Marcus threatened me. But I'm done hiding. Her evidence, financial records, threatening letters, would seal Marcus's fate. As Arthur drove the twins to the diner, the Chicago skyline gleamed, but tension hung heavy. Leo clutched the wooden box, his sketches grounding him, while Maya's sharp eyes scanned the road, ready for a fight. The Lamplight Diner stood unchanged, its neon sign flickering against the midday sun. Inside, the scent of coffee and fried onions greeted them, a bitter-sweet echo of that cold night when Grace had turned them away. Now she met them at the door, her worn apron a badge of her resolve. "You're safe here," she said, her eyes softening as they landed on the twins. Catherine would be proud. Maya's hand tightened on the key, her intuition sensing Grace's truth, while Leo's pencil twitched, sketching the diner's familiar counter. Arthur guided them to a booth, the diary and letter hidden in his coat, as Eleanor coordinated with plainclothes police waiting nearby. The trap was set, but Arthur's heart pounded. Marcus was cunning, and failure wasn't an option. Marcus arrived at noon, his polished suit and false smile a stark contrast to the diner's worn charm. He strode in, expecting to corner Arthur, his blue eyes glinting with greed. "Vance," he sneered, spotting the twins. "Give me the kids and whatever's in that box, and this ends quietly." Arthur stood, his voice calm but steel-edged. "Sit down, Marcus. Let's talk about David." The mention of David's name made Marcus flinch, his facade cracking. Grace stepped forward, her face hard but her hands steady, holding a folder of Catherine's documents. "You thought you could scare me forever," she said, her voice cutting through the diner's hum. "Catherine gave me these. Your forged signatures, your threats, proof you stole David's work." Marcus's eyes darted to the folder, his composure unraveling. "Lies," he spat, but the diner's murmurs grew, their gazes turning suspicious. Leo, clutching the wooden box, felt a surge of courage, his sketches of the star now a symbol of truth. Maya, her sharp mind racing, stood on the booth seat. "You hurt our dad!" she shouted, her voice piercing the tension. "You took everything!" Arthur opened David's diary, its pages revealing the stolen patent, and read the letter aloud. "Marcus betrayed us. The patent is theirs." The words hung heavy, and Eleanor signaled the police, who stepped forward, badges gleaming. Marcus lunged for the box, but Arthur blocked him, his frame unyielding. "It's over," he said, his voice a vow. The police seized Marcus, cuffs snapping around his wrists as he shouted denials, his media lies crumbling. Grace's evidence, paired with the diary and letter, confirmed his fraud, conspiracy, and role in David's fatal accident. The diner's patrons, once wary of the twins, now watched in stunned silence, some offering quiet nods of support. Leo's pencil scratched, capturing Marcus's defeated glare, while Maya's eyes shone with triumph, her hand still gripping the key. Grace knelt beside them, her gruff exterior gone. "You're brave, just like your mom," she said, her voice thick with emotion. As the police led Marcus away, the diner's neon sign buzzed, its light a beacon of justice. Arthur hugged the twins, their small forms trembling with relief. Leo's sketches, scattered on the table, told their story: stars, keys, a father's dream. Maya, her courage unbroken, whispered, "We did it. Dad would be proud." Arthur nodded, his guilt easing, replaced by a fierce love for these children who'd brought him back to life. Grace joined them, her smile weary but warm, a new ally bound by Catherine's trust. The diner, once a place of rejection, now held their victory, its warmth wrapping around them like a promise kept. As they left, the sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over Chicago. The boxes, safe in Arthur's car, carried David and Catherine's legacy, a patent that would change lives. The twins, hand in hand, felt lighter, their parents' love a quiet strength. Arthur, driving back to the mansion, knew the fight wasn't over. Legal battles loomed to secure the twins' future. But today, they'd won. The diner's sign faded in the rearview mirror, a symbol of their journey from a cold, closed door to a family forged in truth. Tomorrow they would build on this victory, crafting a new dawn where David's dream would live on, carried by the twins' courage and Arthur's unwavering vow. The golden glow of a Chicago sunset bathed the Lamplight Diner as Arthur Vance's car pulled away, leaving behind the neon sign that had once marked a cold rejection. Inside, Leo and Maya Evans sat close, their small hands entwined, the wooden box and metal one from Maple Street safe in the back seat. The confrontation with Marcus Thorne, his arrest, the exposure of his betrayal, had lifted a weight from their young shoulders, but the victory was bittersweet. Leo's pencil lay still, his sketches of stars and keys now symbols of a truth reclaimed, while Maya's sharp eyes, softened by relief, traced the city's skyline. Arthur, driving through the fading light, felt the letter in his coat pocket, David's final plea to protect his children, merge with a new purpose. The twins' courage, Grace's unexpected alliance, and Eleanor's sharp legal maneuvers had turned the diner into a place of triumph, a beacon of hope after a year of darkness. Back at the mansion, the lake's gentle waves lapped against the shore, mirroring the calm settling over the twins. Maria greeted them with a warm smile, her graying bun catching the foyer's chandelier light. "You did it," she said, her maternal warmth wrapping around them as she led them to the dining room. The table, once cold and formal, now held a spread of chocolate pie, Catherine's favorite, its rich scent a nod to the twins' mother. Leo, clutching a new sketchbook from Maria, drew the pie's swirling cream, his quiet artistry blooming in the safety of this home. Maya, the brass key tucked in her pocket, grinned at Arthur. "It feels like Mom's here," she said, her 7-year-old voice carrying a wisdom beyond her years. Arthur nodded, his heart swelling, the guilt of David's death easing into a fierce love for these children who'd become his family. The weeks following Marcus's arrest were a whirlwind. Eleanor Hayes, her sharp mind relentless, secured Arthur's legal guardianship of Leo and Maya, presenting David's letter and Grace's evidence to a judge who saw through Marcus's lies. The biotech patent, David's dream of a life-saving innovation, was restored to the twins, held in trust under Arthur's stewardship. The mansion, once a silent monument to Arthur's isolation, transformed into a home. Leo's sketches adorned the walls, stars, keys, the diner's neon glow, each a testament to their journey. Maya, her sharp mind thriving, filled notebooks with ideas, her courage channeling Catherine's spirit. Maria, now a surrogate grandmother, taught them to bake, her laughter echoing through the halls, a sound that made the twins' eyes light up. A year later, the Chicago skyline sparkled as Arthur, Leo, and Maya returned to the Lamplight Diner, its neon sign steady now, no longer flickering. Grace met them at the door, her once gruff demeanor softened, her apron crisp with pride. As the sister of the Evans nanny, she'd carried Catherine's trust, her evidence pivotal in Marcus's downfall. Now she was family, her smile mirroring the twins as they slid into their old booth. The diner buzzed with familiar warmth, its patrons nodding in recognition, no longer wary but welcoming. Leo opened his sketchbook, revealing a drawing of the diner, its neon lamp glowing like a star. "For you," he said shyly, handing it to Grace. Her eyes misted as she pinned it behind the counter, a symbol of their shared victory. Maya spread blueprints across the table, her sharp mind alight with purpose. "The Evans Foundation," she said, her voice vibrant, "a place for kids like us, artists, scientists, dreamers." The foundation, Arthur's tribute to David and Catherine, would be a center for young innovators from struggling backgrounds, a place where creativity could thrive. Arthur, his worn blazer replaced by a tailored jacket, leaned forward, his eyes bright. "Your parents' legacy," he said, "will help others find their way, just like you did." Leo's pencil scratched, sketching the foundation's imagined building, its walls lined with stars, while Maya suggested a motto: create, inspire, grow. Grace, sipping coffee, added, "Catherine would love this. She always believed in second chances." The diner's warmth wrapped around them, a stark contrast to the cold night they'd been turned away. Arthur, no longer a recluse, found purpose in mentoring the twins, his heart healed by their trust. He wasn't their father. He'd never try to replace David, but he was their guardian, their uncle, their anchor. Leo, his quiet strength blossoming, filled sketchbooks with visions of their parents' love, while Maya's ideas, sharp and bold, shaped the foundation's future. Grace, now a regular at the mansion, brought stories of Catherine, weaving the twins' past into their present. The boxes, wooden and metal, sat in a glass case in Arthur's study, their contents, diaries, photos, the brass key, preserved as a reminder of the journey that made them a family. As they shared the chocolate pie, the diner's neon light cast a golden glow, a beacon of hope reborn. Leo's sketches, Maya's plans, and Arthur's quiet strength wove together a tapestry of resilience and love. The Evans Foundation, soon to break ground, would carry David and Catherine's dream forward, a legacy not of wealth but of hope, ensuring no child faced the cold alone. Arthur looked at the twins, their faces alight with purpose, and felt David's presence, a friend whose trust he'd honored. "You're home now," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. Maya grinned, her hand squeezing Leo's, while Leo's pencil paused, his sketch of the family complete. Outside, the Chicago sunset painted the sky in hues of amber and rose, a new dawn for a family forged in truth. The diner's bell jingled as they left, its sound a promise of new beginnings. The twins, hand in hand, carried their parents' love, their courage, a light that would guide others. Arthur, walking beside them, knew the legal battles were won, the patent secure, but the real victory was this: the laughter, the sketches, the dreams that filled their days. The Lamplight Diner, once a closed door, now stood as a monument to their journey, a place where a cold night had sparked a family, a legacy, and a future boundless with possibility. As the sun sets on Leo, Maya, and Arthur's journey in the homeless twins kicked out of a diner, a billionaire follows. His revelation shocks everyone. We're left with a story of courage, redemption, and the unbreakable bonds of chosen family. What did this tale stir in you? How do you see the power of kindness and resilience shaping lives, just as it did for the twins? I'd love for you to share your thoughts and reflections. Your voice adds to the legacy of this story. Thank you for joining me on this heartfelt journey, for walking through the rain and into the warmth of the Lamplight Diner with us. Until we meet again for another tale, keep carrying hope and compassion in your heart. Farewell for now.